So Jessica has a passion to help others avoid the chaos and family destruction that dementia causes. Her career began as an industry accountant, but life evolved into a leadership role as a caregiver advocate, author, ghostwriter, speaker, and teacher. While she still maintains her CPA license, she now is the owner of and the founder of Canon Light Media LLC, and helps mental caregivers on how to protect their health and well-being while creating a cultural shift toward the worldview of preventing dementia, which is the 6th leading cause of death in America. I didn't know that. So she is a certified dementia practitioner, the author of the Proactive Caregiver, Stop Reacting to Life and Stop Living Proactively, and she is also the host of the Proactive Caregiver podcast. And for fun, Jessica, she likes going to the beach. She likes retreats, and that's what I met her at a book retreat this year at Camp Campers, which was wonderful. So let's all welcome Jessica to stage.
All right, dementia, a term some of you are familiar with, but maybe not so much. I know it as the disease of accountability. So when my mother started losing track of days, and she stopped pursuing her passionate hobbies. After a divorce, I wanted to try to support her and show her that I understood life can be incredibly challenging, but as a married woman, not just as her daughter. But then when she started to sleep all day and stay up all night, I just kind of assumed that these life challenges created temporary depression. Only this kind of depression included a form of withdrawal, one that I hadn't noticed in earlier years from her bipolar disorder. Now, eventually, the house started to smell like gas, urine, and rotting food. Her utilities started to be shut off every couple of months, and the mailbox was full more regularly. We didn't know what was causing this, but it was undeniable something was wrong. We had to figure this out. It was hard to grasp the first diagnosis of vascular dementia, and then later, early onset Alzheimer's, and finally, frontotemporal dementia. All of this before the age of 65. It didn't have to be this way. Now, growing up, one of the things that I didn't know was how to protect my brain and body from aging painfully, aggressively, or unexpectedly. But see, growing up, we weren't taught the value of mental health. Now, that doesn't mean that they weren't concerned with behavior or discipline. It's just that they never thought to connect daily habits with mental decline. And this is something that, to be fair, my parents didn't teach me because they didn't know this themselves, nor did their parents. So now we're having to relearn the food pyramid, the importance of restorative sleep, the benefits long-term for a healthy lifestyle, and even the need for a firm spiritual foundation. These are all the topics that I teach in my book because I've learned through watching my mother's struggles. They affect us in ways we don't even consider. Because when you understand our creation, the body and mind as a whole, then you can begin to understand how dementia is a silent killer. One that is given the option to fester because we don't acknowledge our mental and emotional health. Dementia, one term, right? But this is a term that is used to describe well over 100 different types and their variations. This is also a term that scientists use to be able to describe the breakdown of the brain, the nerve endings disconnecting, the tissues in our brain shrinking which causes that slow death of the brain, and eventually our bodies forget how to function. This is something that, up until more recently, researchers are finally understanding. They have to study the precursors to dementia. And those are the vascular system, inflammation, and environment. These are things that we were not aware of early on, but we have to be aware of them now. Because 3 things that I feel that my family could have benefited from early on was understanding how to cope with excessive stress, the difference between what their daily habits were and what they could and should be, and also the biggest one of all that we're still having to learn today, the misconceptions that dementia is genetic. See, the problem is we are learning way too long in life individually that we could have made better choices that help us protect our brain and body. But that doesn't have to be the case. So as I watch my mother come closer to the end of her journey with dementia, I am passionate about sharing our story to teach others how to prevent dementia themselves. Caregivers don't understand this because they put every bit they can into their loved ones, depleting their own bodily resources and exposing them to dementia as well. It doesn't have to be this way. I embrace this now as a caregiver advocate. So before I step over, I want to leave you with a few quick tips to help you begin becoming a proactive caregiver yourselves. Because even if you don't consider yourself a caregiver, reality is you are. So, the first one, make sure you maintain restorative sleep routines. This is how our body replenishes those valuable hormonal resources. Make sure you take time to evaluate what your nutritional habits are. We've got to relearn how to feed the brain and maintain a healthy gut. Third, you need to find a way to incorporate a daily exercise routine, but keep it brief so you can commit to it and don't allow little obstacles to throw you off. 4, the one I love the most, get creative. Creativity helps us maintain our personal growth through ways we don't even imagine, because the more creative you can be, the more neural pathways you are creating. And it is possible to do this throughout our longevity in our life. And the last one, I need you to remain socially active, because the connection with others and getting that stimulating conversation helps you in ways you cannot imagine. Besides, caregivers end up being self-isolating just because of their duties, and oftentimes they withdraw from just exhaustion in itself. So we may be able to agree that living life to the fullest without dementia is possible. But despite the barriers that exist genetically, the real problem is finding the desire to be a little less stubborn and reprogram our daily habits, because it doesn't have to be this way. Prevention is possible. There is no cure. There is only prevention. Thank you.
Thank you.